and the guided process of achieving them. But I'd like to give you the key points that I want you to take away from all of this. So effectively an online toolbox. So I want to run through the resources that you should have active in your business and some of the top tips in a way in terms of using them successfully for tourism business. An e-marketing strategy is one of the most important and core tools that you can have at your fingertips. You're aware of how important all these platforms are. You're aware that you need to be selling online, booking online. How you make that work effectively together. The process of conversion through from your online presence, the content that you're sharing, the content you're creating, the content you're accessing and curating from your clients, and how you drive that into conversions is going to work much more effectively if you have a strategy in place. And it doesn't need to be particularly complex or complicated. It's really about taking a serious approach to how you're going to achieve this. And I think something that should have really be the key takeaway from all of this, and I'm sure that many people here are now aware of, is that it needs to be taken seriously. Many people in the past have always regarded online as kind of an icing on the cake. It's a nice extra to have in our business, in addition to those traditional marketing methods that we use. But what this should have shown is how important this is, that it is a core part of your business at two levels. The marketing of your product in terms of your bookings, the communications, and the flow of, and how that flows, and then your management, and how those two work together effectively. So what platforms you're using, what content you are publishing via those platforms, and how that drives through a manageable and measurable conversion process. So it means understanding what you're selling and really knowing your product. As you're developing a strategy and you're looking at the content you want to put out across these platforms and on your website and everything you do, you should have key messages that really define what it is that you do. And these should be as unique and specific to your product as possible. I talked yesterday about the importance of having those unique stories and unique selling points about your business. Because it's such a crowded marketplace you're working in, particularly once you bring search and social into play. But if you're using just those generic terms to describe yourself and what you do, you're competing with everybody else who's using and leveraging those terms. So come up with what it is that is unique about your product and turn that into a key message. Identify what the experiences are that you offer clients and how you're going to talk about and define and describe those experiences. What choices do you offer? If you're offering a wide variety of experiences, tours, excursions, or even room and accommodation options, you may need to market and target them to different people, as opposed to having one broad strategy for everybody. Have individual strategies for those particular clients who are going to want those experiences or those products. So identify what it is that makes you unique and what your value is in market. Not how cheap you are, but how you are relative to your competition and what value you place upon your experiences and products. Once you've got those key messages, you use those to structure all content that you use, continually using those words and terms, or content that really expresses what it is that's unique about your business. So find content that really shows the experiences that you're offering, ideally directly showing those experiences and clients having those experiences. It'll help you create the messages that you're going to communicate across all platforms, to identify terms people may be searching for in search engines, if you're going to practice search engine optimization, and also the conversations and discussions that are happening in the social space where you want to engage with people. So think about the words that best describe your product, and the words that people that you're targeting are most likely going to use to describe them. And these will be the words you use again and again. There are common words used in the tourism world to describe the products that you may be selling. So think about them. And think about what words your clients often use. When they praise you, the words and things you see people talking about in the positive TripAdvisor reviews you get, for example. What is it they're consistently praising about you? That's what you're doing well. And how they describe it and define it. Because at the core of all of this, while mathematics, it's computer programming. It's matching those words together. So using the right words is extremely important to describe your product. The words you use describing experiences, naming the images correctly that you use, so that they can be identified by search. So come up with the right words to describe your product. Then you need to match those products and experiences to the clients that you want to sell. And that's what your online marketing strategy has to function around. Matching those experiences to the people you want to have those experiences. So you should be able to describe the typical client you have now and that you want to have. There's a huge amount of information out there.
talked yesterday about wanting to stalk your clients. You can see from their online behavior, from their profiles. The algorithms of drug delivery and suggested posts and contents on Facebook are based all around the profiles that are created of each individual user. What they like, they're engaged with, what sort of media they're engaging with, what in terms of the words they're typing into their posts. All of this is recorded and measurable in the algorithms that deliver that content. So being able to describe the person that you want to reach online is extremely important, particularly if you're advertising online. So you should be able to profile your ideal clients. They may be very different people. As I said, if you're selling different tour packages or itineraries or accommodation types, these could be very different people that we're talking about. But you need to be able to describe them. That means knowing where they live, what sort of family group they are they single, are they couples? Are they engaged couples? Are they coming on a honeymoon? Are they married couples? Are they older, retired people? Are they single parents? Are they gay couples? Knowing all of these things will help to identify those people and access them via their online profiles. What sort of jobs do they have? What sort of media do they regularly consume? And what sort of ways do they use to express what they're talking about? Extremely important, as Sunil said, to do at almost a stalking level to build up a profile of the people that you want to reach. The more effectively you target that content to them, the better your results are going to be. And as we saw in the last session, the critical thing is conversion. When you get the right messages reaching the right people, what you want to do is drive them to a point of conversion. And that means turning them into a client. It doesn't mean an immediate booking or sale. There can be various levels of engagement and conversion. But what you ultimately want to be driving them through the engagement process online, is one of 3 conversion points when they're brought together with the right messages. The obvious one is the booking. Getting them to that booking button, getting them into a form to make a real-time booking with you. Then you've got a client, you have their information, you can maintain a relationship with them post-trip to become a repeat customer. If not a booking, you want to drive them to a point of inquiry. Encouraging them to get in contact with you. Send you a message, send you a mail, send you a Facebook message, and realize that they may get in touch with you in many different ways. The days of just relying on the old info box in your email box, the info address, are gone. You'll receive inquiries through your Facebook message. It always amazes me when we work with people and look at people's Facebook pages. We often find people that never look at their Facebook messages. That inbox is just as important as your email inbox now. It's how a lot of people, particularly your fans on Facebook, are going to get in touch with you. They're going to send you a Facebook message. But some people never bother to go and look at those Facebook messages. Some people will contact you through Twitter. All of these platforms are also inquiry platforms. So you need to be communicating with clients across all of those platforms. Lastly, some measure of engagement or a booking. They become a fan, they become a follower. And you want to maintain and nurture that relationship, because just an initial fan or follow is not enough. You want to increase their engagement with you. Yes, they've become a fan, yes, they're following you, but how do you get them to actually start actively engaging with you? You want them to respond to you, to answer questions, to reshare or retweet something that you've tweeted, to comment on your photos, to start sharing your photos among their friends. And it's those points of engagement that are really going to work effectively for you. Not just marketing to them, but marketing to people they're connected with as well. And further that engagement beyond the initial fan or follower into their networks also. So every time you want to make a push online, developing a strategy that identifies these things is extremely important. So spell this out and decide who you're targeting with what products, via which platforms, and how you're going to measure that. So maybe a strategy like we're a family-friendly safari camp, identifying those unique things about your business. In our area with luxury tented accommodation, defining what the product is you want to sell to them. Frequent wild dog sightings, another unique selling point. You're targeting families from Europe for their school vacation period, so when you want to focus your efforts and your social media presence and the messages that you're sending out to reach them at the right time in their key travel researching period, before their school vacation period, by promoting a special family offer that includes free kids ranger activities, what the product is you're selling is targeted to these family groups, and a camp spa package. And we'll be promoting this to a video testimonial that we produced with clients recommending you via a video. This will be from a family who recently stayed with us, so the right people communicating that message. This will be posted on our YouTube channel, tweeted and embedded on affiliate websites on Facebook, and via some Facebook ads and some keyword ads for family breaks in our region. And where all of that traffic will be driven is a landing page that we've specifically created for bookings. I'll talk more about this when we look at websites. But a specific page where all of those ads and promotions are driving people, where you can measure the traffic that lands on that page. And you know that all the traffic that came to that page were driven from those ads, links that you shared. So you can measure everybody who visited this page came from that campaign. And then measure beyond the booking button how many actual conversions you got. So all of this is manageable and measurable. So you can see your results and your return on investment. So this campaign is going to involve a lot of things, everything we've talked about in the last 2 days. So it's potential viral marketing, it's affiliate marketing with partners, possibly email marketing, which is becoming less effective due to the evolution of messaging and email technology. Managing your website, SEO, possibly pay-per-click advertising or online advertising. But a lot of this traffic may still drive people to your website. While the social platforms have been much better, as we've just seen, in terms of embedding booking forms, delivering actual bookings and conversions, for a lot of people, their website is still the point of conversion. And that's really what you need to look at your website as. As several speakers have said, the roles of websites are evolving and changing. Some people, when they hear about the shift away from traffic from websites into the social space, think we no longer need to focus on a website. Some people even say we don't need one anymore. We can dump it. I think that day is still some way off. Websites still have a role to play, but it is a very different and evolving role. It's much more about conversion. You want to engage with people socially and drive them there to convert to a booking or a sale or an inquiry or to view more content information. So I want to run through a few points about websites, about what's working now in the web world, what are the key elements that you want to have on your own business website. This is an interesting stat from a Travel Mall study they did. They said the tourism websites now, from tests they did of watching people using tourist websites, have 6 seconds to capture their customers or risk them getting bored and going elsewhere. Now this is being driven by the volume of information that people are processing and predominantly from the use of mobile access of websites, where people will spend a lot less time on a website if they're viewing it through a mobile device. So 6 seconds is a very short period of time to grab someone's attention. And it really is all about delivering them what they have come to the website for. They've come there for a purpose. Show it to them, show them they can do it. Particularly on a mobile platform. So those 3 key buttons that Teresa showed. Contact us, how do you get there, and book. Put those messages up front and solid on your website, both on your regular mobile platform. Those action points where people can convert need to be more visible than ever. Because good websites now are giving the user what they want. They're coming there for a purpose, so give them that convertibility from the front. Don't bore them and overload them with information, confuse them or make them go through a long navigation process just to get to one of those conversion points. Those points of conversion, booking, inquiry, and social media engagement should be present on every page of your website. Don't send them to dead ends and lose them. Make them read endless information and click from page to page until they reach that conversion point. They need to be constantly present on your website, and that social integration and access to your social media platforms from your website back and forth should be present on every page. When we see bad websites, and we see quite a lot when we work with companies, we often see some pretty terrible websites out there. There is normally a consistent story behind that website. This is the biggest failing that creates bad websites. They've been built badly from day one. This really is the structure by which a website should be built. The core of a good website and its base should be its usability. How do you move through it? How do you navigate it? How you deliver to a conversion point? The structure of how the pages are built is a key to the core of a very, very effective website. Next, you consider how easily it can be found, particularly on search engines. And you ensure that everything is in place on that website for it to be properly indexed by search engines. Lastly, you come to design. That's where you put in the content within the structure that's been built in the content management system. Your logo, the color schemes, and the images. If you reverse this process and do it the other way around, that's where trouble starts. And we see this with people that go to web designers or developers and say, right, I want a website built, this is what color I want it to be. This is where I want my logo, this is where I want the photo to be. And they completely reverse this process. As I always tell people, it's like painting and decorating a house before you built it. It's not going to work. You need the solid structure and construction of that house before you start decorating. So I would imagine most people in this room, if not all, already have a website. In terms of whether you need to do some work on your website, upgrade or improve your website, I'll ask you some key critical questions here, which you should be able to answer yes to on every single one of these questions. Has it grown substantially in size over the last year? Or is it exactly the same size as it was a year ago? Same amount of pages, same content sitting on that website. A good, dynamic, engaging website which has got a high search profile and is delivering people conversions should be changing constantly. You should always be adding new content to it on at least a weekly, possibly bi-weekly basis, adding new content to the website, particularly live content, special offers, deals, all of that sort of stuff, constantly being added to the site. And it should be fully socially integrated so that you can see your most recent Facebook posts, your most recent tweets, videos that you have on YouTube and YouTube channel, viewable through the website. Constant growth, keeping it dynamic, keeping it interesting. Is at least 25% of the content on your website related to current specific events, offers, or new products? Are you talking about the seasons? What's happening this season? What special offers do you have? What game is more visible this time of year? What's happening, the changing of the trees and plants, what the change of weather means in your area? And then how does that relate to seasonal specials that you may be offering, specific activities that you may be offering? That's what will keep the site live and active and shows up to that here and now. And it will be very extremely important and effective in terms of indexing your website as well with search engines. Is your website fully integrated with your social networks? Do you have widgets and buttons and boxes in place where, as I said, you can see your most recent Facebook posts, most recent tweets, view videos that you have on YouTube via your website? That's a critical ingredient, particularly keeping your website active and visible in search engines. Does every single page of your website have an actual purpose? What's it for? When you look at that page of the website, can you say, this is what I want this person to do from this page? Not just read about this bit of information or look at these pictures, but what do you want them to do after they see that? What conversion point am I driving them to? What action, sale, or engagement do I want to come from that page? Does the content vary through the site? Is it not one size fits all? Do you have different content for different people? Different types of clients, different types of customers, different itineraries, excursions? Have you created specific content that relate to the type of people that want to have those experiences? And is all the content on your website appealing, easy to use, and up to date? And do you know how many people are using your website? Not just visiting, but actually using it. Are you getting Google Analytics or statistics from your website that show you how many unique visitors, actual people you're receiving month on month into your website? What are the most popular pages of your website? What's the most popular source country for people to come to your website? Where are people reaching your website from? Is it search engines? Is it social media? You should be getting all that information on a regular basis and using it to monitor the behavior of your clients and make decisions based on that, the stalking process, as someone called yesterday. Watching their behavior, seeing what they're doing. The most important thing, how are they leaving your website? Many people can tell you, this is how many visitors we have coming into our website, but then where do they go? What's the most common exit point for your website? And it should be one of those conversion points, a booking, an inquiry, or an engagement. If you have a very high bounce rate, people coming into your website and leaving it via the back key, that means that it's not working for you. You can have a beautiful website with all fantastic information and products on it, but if people are bouncing regularly out of that website, going in, taking a look at one page and leaving, that means that they're walking into your beautiful boutique store and walking out the door again. And the most common cause that we find when we look at websites that are bouncing highly is lack of conversion ability. As I always tell people, you've built a beautiful boutique with no cash register and counter. So your customers are walking in, taking a look around, and leaving. So the exit point is extremely important to know. So you should try to answer yes to all of those questions when it comes to your website. If not, you may need to do some work on changing it. All good websites these days are run on content management systems. SpringNet's just demonstrated theirs that they have here. And good CMSs and content management systems that used to be a fairly expensive proposition are now very cheap and in many cases free, widely available. And a lot of people are scared by the concept of content management system. Who here has a website that runs on a CMS and content management system? You self-manage? Who doesn't? Who doesn't have a website that you manage? You rely on someone else to manage it for you? Yeah, and this is the challenge. It puts you in a really difficult position when somebody else is managing your web presence, particularly when it comes to integration of social, and particularly when it comes to keeping the site live and dynamic, because you're having to pay someone to do that. And even to make the smallest change on your website, a single word, you need to go out and get somebody else to do that. But there are good content management systems that enable you to manage a website yourself. And people are scared off by that. They think, I'm not a computer programmer, it's too difficult of a process to manage. It's not. Good CMSs use what's called a WYSIWYG system. And that just stands for what you see is what you get. And if you can edit a Word document, you can edit a web page. So use exactly the same toolbars. To edit the text, simple tools to drop photos into the page, to add content like video, or third-party services like booking buttons or social media widgets can be added to the page, and with a single click you save the page and the website updates. There are many different forms of CMS out there, but one of the most popular platforms that we're seeing being used these days is WordPress, which really has moved on from being a blogging system, as it used to be, into being now the most popular web CMS used. Some estimates put it around 60% of active websites now online are using WordPress. The reason for that is that it's extremely easy to use. It's totally template driven, but with thousands of themes, so they don't all look the same the way they used to. There are websites that provide thousands of themes, some of them free, but most of them low cost, less than $100. The majority of good WordPress themes, as Peter mentioned before, the importance of responsive design, meaning they operate easily on the 3 screens, so your desktop, mobile, tablet, and will automatically adjust themselves based on the device that someone is using. And then you just pay for widgets that you want to add in, whether it's a social media widget, a booking form, or whatever function you want the site to have is what you pay for with a one-off cost to add into your WordPress template. They're also easily transferable between new developers and designers. So if you have a person who designs and develops a WordPress site for you and you're not happy with their work and want to shift it to someone else, if it's built in WordPress, it's very easy for that to be transferred into another designer or developer. In terms of who should be managing it, if you've got a CMS up there, it's extremely important that the right people manage your website. Common mistake we see are people who give website management to their IT person, or the guy that runs their computers, or you call when your printer isn't working. And we always ask people, if someone came into you asking for a booking in your hotel, a walk-in client that wanted to be there, would you ever dream of getting the IT guy out to come and sell or talk about the product? You would never do that. Your website is your 24 hours a day, 7 days a week window on the world, and your face of the world. So it needs to be managed by people who know the product. Your marketing staff, your management staff. If you've got a large business organization, the great thing about a good CMS is you can delegate sections to different people and run it like a newspaper with an overall editor that allows different people to manage different pages, which is sent to them for approval. Once that person makes a change on the page, they approve it and publish it. And that's going to really help make the website more interactive and grow it as well if you're a larger organization or company. In terms of the content you put into that content management system, lots of people have talked about how you get good content here. If you're not a great writer, you're not a great photographer, you can outsource professionally to do that. You can gather it from trade partners. If you're a tour operator visiting lots of properties, ask them for regular content that you can use online. Use the media and what's available in terms of shared content, use syndicated content, use content from your clients. So important now, as we've talked about again and again. Include TripAdvisor reviews, include good feedback. Include any mention you've had from bloggers, travelers, any online media that's been published about you. But also keep in mind that product knowledge is essential. Nothing will ruin your business like not knowing your own product in the way that you communicate online. And sometimes we come across glaring and shocking examples of this. And often it's because of this disconnect between designers, developers, or people who are managing websites and the core owners of the product. Because those people that you've hired to design the website or to manage it may not know your product as well as you do, and they can make some horrible mistakes, and it can take away your credibility. We're recently doing some training in Johannesburg. We saw someone's website. We looked at the site and I asked them, well, what do you do? What's your core business? They said, we're a safari company. I said, okay, so you take people out on safaris in the bush to see wildlife? Yes. Okay, so you're wildlife experts. Great. Well, let's take a look at your website. I said, very nice, fairly dramatic opening page. I've taken their name out there to protect them in this case. I said, your role as wildlife experts might come into question a bit when people realize that there on the great African savannah is a moose. Now, I'm sure their website developer, wherever they got them, just grabbed some downloadable silhouettes of animals and threw them on the page, not realizing there's a bit of a shortage of mooses wandering about the African savannah. They thought it was an antelope and worked for them. But you imagine someone that wants to book a safari and is looking for a wildlife expert who sees a moose sitting on your website. You've immediately lost your credibility. We're talking about blogging and how important that is. It's also a great idea to have your own corporate blog. So a regular company blog that you update as well. Particularly when you've got a lot of interesting happenings and things happening. It's particularly important in the wildlife tourism world where you've got constant game sightings, constant activities, new things that you can report. Don't just report them on social media and your website, but create a blog as well. One of the reasons for having an external blog on your website is it's very useful for making the site more search engine friendly and visible. If you've got a blog where you're constantly posting links back to your own websites, we'll talk shortly about the impact of that on SEO. So make sure your website helps to guide people through it. Gives them easy to understand options and menus, lets them change their minds as they move through your website. Educate them via options. Yes, they might be coming in looking for a particular type of activity. Let them know that you also offer other activities in the area, what the options and alternatives are. And that's going to increase the likelihood of them booking those activities or options as well. And always let them get in touch with you and ask for help. Make sure your website's built around a good sitemap, where you spell out and create this architecture, or information architecture as it's called, first, so you know how people are going to move through your website, and make it logical and as simple as possible. People say these days all people are really willing to tolerate in a web experience is a click depth of 3, meaning they'll only click 3 times before they want to take some action. So maybe from your home page, look at your tours, looking at a particular itinerary, book it. It may be your home page, looking at your room options in the hotel, looking at your cuisine that you also have. Now they want to make a reservation. Anything beyond 3 clicks down for expected conversion is going to have leakage and you're going to lose people. So make the information flow as simply and easily as possible. A good web developer can then put that into what's called a wireframe, which is a test version of a content management system where you can click through. It's your website but with no content in it. Go through and use that to make sure the navigation is simple and logical before you start loading content into the page. It's going to give you a much better end product website. Another common mistake we're seeing now when conversion is so important is the fold. I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with this term, the fold. It's something that comes from the newspaper editing world, but it still relates very strongly to websites. I actually need a piece of paper to demonstrate this, and in a technology conference, paper is really hard to come by. Anybody have a piece of paper? Anything like an A4 piece of paper? A true technology conference where no one has any paper.
A5.
The bigger the better. There we go. That's quite tiny, but it's all right. Get on. Sorry to make you get up. Okay. That's a lot of paper. This term comes from the publishing days of newspapers. You have tabloid and broadsheet newspapers, right? What's the biggest broadsheet newspaper in South Africa? It's the
Sunday Times.
Sunday Times, right? So the bigger newspapers. Now, traditionally, when newspapers used to be sold, and you had the newsstands where people would come and pick up newspapers on the street, they would always fold the newspapers in the morning when they went out to be sold, and that's how they would go onto the newsstand like that. And the rule in editing, newspaper editing, was that everything important, your headline, your main story, and key news had to be here, above the fold. Never down here because nobody saw it. It was sitting on top of a pile of newspaper. And exactly the same thing works in the web world. When somebody opens your website, what they see depends on their browser and what device they're using, but there is a limit where they're going to have to start scrolling down the page. Never have your conversion points, those booking points, your social media icons, and access points below half of the full screen of your website. It means it's going to, in most cases, be invisible. Those have to always be above the fold and present. If you use a responsive design for mobile, they'll be put towards the top of the page, and no matter what device they're using, they'll always stay at the top of the page, and that's critical. Because some people just won't scroll down there. In terms of the copy and the text you put in your website, remember people read differently online. They read less. Make sure those key messages that you're defining your product are clearly mentioned several times on the page and made bold so they stand out off the page. Don't have big blocks of text. Break them up with double spaces between them. Use bulleted lists whenever you can. And hyperlinks. So a short summary of information with click here to read more that opens up the full information. Because people are going to read a lot less on your website. Make sure it's accurately spelled. One of the things that really loses people's credibility in the online world is spelling mistakes. So this company, for example, who are certified public accountants, have a great website, but up in their page title, on the top of the page, they're actually certified pubic accountants. You can probably get them very different search results. But spelling is more than ever extremely important, and it's not just about being a grammar Nazi and a spelling Nazi. As I said, everything online is driven by basic algorithmics. Particularly when it comes to search engines, when it comes to social search, when it comes to leveraging different words for online advertising, search engine optimization, and social media advertising. You have to put in the words that people are interested in. What the things are that are being talked about socially and content online. And if you spell those words wrong, it just doesn't make that match. So you have to make sure that your content is always spelled correctly. The BBC did this study recently which actually showed that spelling mistakes are losing companies millions in online sales just through this inability to match together words and deliver ads in the right place, with people making spelling mistakes on websites, in social posts, and in advertising. Also be aware of context, the way that you use words. You've always got to make sure that you don't want to put out the wrong messages. Different things can mean different things in different places. I'm sure this person called Anu was very proud to own this restaurant. When they put it in sign format, not too many people really are going to pop down for lunch at this establishment. And it can happen all the time. This product went onto supermarket shelves in the UK a year or two ago, and it seemed perfectly fine when they put it out there, until you really thought about it. Or this one, which is my favorite, which is a great example of context being ruined by your graphic designer. This is somebody who, it was a newspaper fashion article actually about swimsuits and bikinis. And the name of the story, everything made sense until the graphic designer got hold of it. And they decided to put the page together like this. Not a good idea in that setting, really. So one of the keys to identifying mistakes I make is getting other people to look at it. And this is true with anything you publish online. Don't edit it yourself. We have very strange brains. We always forgive ourselves mistakes. You've probably seen this yourself. You can read a document that you've written 50 times. Someone else will look at it and immediately see a mistake that you've made on the page. If it's not your own language that you're writing in, if you're writing for another non-English market, or if you're not yourself a non-English native speaker, get someone who's a native speaker to read it. They'll pick up different nuances that you never get when you learn another language. Don't rely on automation. Don't rely on spell check. Spell check does not identify every mistake on a page. If you mean to say form and you write the word from, that is not a spelling mistake. Spell check will not pick it up. So a human being should read it. And whatever you do, never, ever use automatic translation tools. I'm sorry, Google, but Google Translate does not work. If any of you have tried to translate a paragraph or page of text using an automatic translation tool, they just do not work. They will never be able to pick up the nuances of language. And they produce nightmarishly bizarre versions of documents. If any of you have bought any products from China, as we all often end up doing these days in Africa, and looked at those instruction manuals, you'll see what automatic translators do, because that's how they prepare their instruction manuals. China is notorious for this. They're always using automatic translators. I was in China a couple of years ago and saw the absolute best example of what happens when you use automatic translators. It was in Shanghai Airport. There was a huge banner on the side of the airport advertising an investment company, I think it was. So there was a picture of the profile of Shanghai, there was some contact numbers, and there was a huge message in English across the center of the page, and it said, "Error, unable to translate." So really, with less time being spent on websites than ever, particularly with the rise of mobile, having a website that is relatively simple, that is attractive, that's visually driven with strong visual images, but keeping those key conversion points, your social media points, and your booking inquiry buttons at the top of the page, and maintaining that is critical. And that really is what websites are all about now. It's about delivery of conversion. Because people are going to be coming to you not just from search engines, but from social and many different places. As I said, get those Google Analytics. Look at them regularly to see what's happening with your web traffic. You always want to focus on those unique visitors. How many people are visiting your website every month? That's the important number. How long they're spending on your website, and you should see those stats poured out, as I said, when I talked about the 3-click depth. This average of 3 pages being visited is very common with a lot of tourism businesses. We see 3 or 4 pages being the average visit, or 3 or 4 minutes as well on the website as a typical visit. And your bounce rate. How many people are bouncing off your website? You always want to keep that as as low as possible. Look at where people are coming from. It's also not uncommon, we've found in tourism businesses, when you look at where your traffic is coming from, for your own country to be where most of the traffic is coming from. If you're selling predominantly domestic tourism, that's great. But if you're not, and you're mostly selling to international tourists, and the majority of the traffic is coming from your own country, that can be a worrisome sign. It means people are looking for business, they're looking for jobs, but they're not actually looking for the core business of your website. Look at where people are coming to your website from. Search engines, but also the social deliveries that you have. You should particularly be trying to optimize those deliveries from your social profile as well. If you're sharing out good links back to your website via your social media presence. And that's not uncommon to see when it comes to referrals to a website. That sort of order of numbers would be the average that we would see. So search engine optimization used to be, how do we get to the top of those Google results? How do we appear at the top of the page? And there was an industry built out of this. But because of the constantly changing algorithmics, and also that people are using a lot less of the traditional search model and looking at social search, it is changing constantly. And it really is hard to give good advice about SEO in a realistic way to people until you really get to know their product and who's searching for them. But it's something I wouldn't recommend investing heavily in until you've really made some wise decisions about how you want them to be delivered to you and what you're selling. But there are basic rules you can follow to get a good search profile on search engines, and it really is all about links and linkage. Search still is driving a lot of the internet and commerce. 50% of online purchases still originating from some degree of search, 99% from a search process, which may include social search or referral from a social profile. Your BOBO is still search. I don't know if anyone knows what a BOBO is. A BOBO, it's not a form of chimpanzee. It's somebody who browses online and books offline. They get all of their information up to the actual point of conversion online. They're still not comfortable with an online booking, so they'll do that offline. So they're still using search tools, even though they're not booking directly with you online. So some degree of search engine optimization is still vital, but it is complex and ever-changing, as I said. Google still remains the greatest market share of search. You don't want to forget where the remaining almost 30% is sitting. There are search tools being used. What's really important when it comes to these spider programs or the indexing of websites, something that happens on average about every 2 weeks to your website is that it's indexed by a search engine. And it's those index results that give you your ranking when it comes to people searching for your site. Text matches, so the matches of what people are searching for content on your page. Relevancy matches. The algorithms learn the relationships. They know that Cape Town is in South Africa, which is in Africa. Those relevancy matches are made. How recently they are updated, as I said, that's why it's extremely important. If you're never updating your website will be indexed less and less, to the point where it's almost never indexed because nothing's ever changing for that index to read. The popularity of the site, which is a bit of a double-edged sword. But the most influential area are the inbound links back to your website. The links from other websites to your website are critical, particularly larger websites and well-trafficked websites. And that's what's going to give you the best natural search results. Getting more links from other websites back to your sites. You're gaining some benefit from the popularity of those websites. The simplest way for me to explain that, I'm sorry, I think I've lost the page there. Okay, thought I had the slide, but I don't. The simplest way for me to explain the importance of inbound links, actually no, it is there, sorry, lost my order on my slides. Before we get into inbound links, just quickly a couple of points on the text. I mentioned those text matches and how important they are. How many times should that text be posted on your page? Some people get carried away and overly use those words. So here you're trying to push the garden route in South Africa. So how many times should you realistically say garden route on that page? The most important thing is to have it at the top there in terms of the page titles, your H1 title, the headline title, as it's called in the middle there below South Africa. And then for every 250 words of text on your page, mention it 3 or 4 times maximum. That will give you a pretty good text match result when it comes to SEO. Make sure your site is built properly for it. So the URLs, the actual addresses of your web pages, make sure that they're appropriately named. Sometimes when developers deliver your website, you'll see web pages that look like this. You sometimes see that on websites, where it'll be acmehotels.com/ and then a whole bunch of code. That makes sense to the developer who built the website, but it means nothing to a search engine. So check every page of your website is appropriately named. acmehotels.com/luxury room. So what that page is about, so that it's indexed properly. So that's its first port of call when it indexes the page. Remember that a search engine has no idea what a photograph is. The search engine does not know that this is a picture of an elephant. It knows the file name of that photograph that was uploaded. So it only knows that that's img._345, whatever your camera named it when you uploaded it. So when you do load images onto your website, when you're creating galleries and images to use online, make sure you name them properly. Ideally the name .jpg. If you want to put your company name in there, so you can do that as well. Equally, outside of images, that includes all elements of a web page. So top design elements of the page, logos. We've quite often looked through people's websites and realized when we've gone through the website that the name of the company is never mentioned once on the website. And they tell us, yes it is, it's there at the top of every page, and it's their logo. That's not editable and readable text. That's an image, and all it's reading is the name of that image that was uploaded. So make sure that you've got your name and those key messages in actual text on the page, not as part of the design of the site. Splash pages, those giant pages that many people have where you open up your website and the first thing you see is an enormous single image with the word enter underneath it, are fatal to search engines. The program cannot locate the menus and cannot ascertain what's on the page. So keep those key messages on the page clearly 2 or 3 times for every 250 words of text. Make sure they're in your metadata by your content management system, in your headings, and then also in those links back to your website, and include the words inside the links as well. I'll explain to you what I mean by that. So those inbound links to your website are absolutely critical. This is an example I want to give you to explain how inbound links work. If you were to go to Google and Google the words "click here," just those 2 words, the #1 result on Google is Adobe. Why is that? Because every time someone puts on their website, click here to download this document, where do those words click here lead to? Adobe, to download the document. So they have taught search engines that whatever click here means, it has a lot to do with this website. So that's what's given its positive search results. So the same is true for links back to your site. You have lots of links leading back to your website, specifically links about things that you offer. Those links will help give you a much higher search profile. But you need a good website that people will visit and link to. This is why so many people will write to you asking for reciprocal links. I'll put a link on your site, can you put one on mine? That's good if it's someone that you do work with or someone that has a complementary product. You shouldn't necessarily do it from a munitions factory in China or something that doesn't relate to you. But good reciprocal links will help you. Blogs. Any articles that are published online, include links back to your website. If you have bloggers come and produce content, make sure they provide lots of links back to your website in their blogs, particularly if they're on popular blogging platforms. Any PR submissions you put out to be published online include links in there as well. One of the best and obvious sources is, of course, social media links. And using social media, which is the largest websites online, to propagate links back to your own website. While social media is great for communicating about your brand and getting content out there, it's also really good for building those links. So give them good content to link to, downloads, ebooks, media, videos to watch. Give them a reason to link and go back to your website. Try and name those links whenever you can, and this is why having your own blog is really useful for creating good quality links back to your own website. Because in this case, for example, rather than just saying click here to see fishing operators in Mozambique, if it's a link on a blog or another site which says there are excellent fishing charter services in Mozambique, and they lead to a website that does that, and you're going to get great search engine results for people searching for those words. So name if you're working with a blogger, if you're writing your own blog, having named links that are specific to the activities or products you offer will greatly help your search results for those things. So in terms of paying for search engine optimization, it's something that you only want to do because it can be a very expensive proposition. Really only do it if you're really facing a challenge in the search arena. But if you decide to do it and to do keyword advertising, make sure that you do it at the right time, but also know, once again, what people are likely to be searching for and how they're likely to describe your product and how they express it. Now that might sound simplistic, but it can be quite challenging because it really does vary depending on what market you're selling to. Simple as that, talking about organising a holiday. In the UK, they're going to spell organizing like that, and they're going to say they're organizing their holiday. In the States, they're going to spell organizing like that and say they're organizing their vacation. The word vacation means nothing in the UK. Nobody uses it. The word holiday in America means a single public holiday. So you need to be aware of which markets you're targeting and how they're likely to describe your product. Because it's a very, very competitive industry, the search industry, and it can be very expensive. And there's lots of people competing for these search terms. I was recently training in Zimbabwe, and the Zimbabweans are really annoyed with South Africa. And one of the reasons is that lots of South African companies pay to leverage the word Victoria Falls, so that people searching for Victoria Falls get led to South African tour operators and companies, even though Victoria Falls aren't there. So it has become very competitive, and that happens everywhere. It happens in ski fields in Europe. There's constant competition for these search terms. So it's a very competitive space. It can be an expensive space, so only use it strategically, sparingly, and know who you're targeting and what the right words are to reach them. It is cost per click. You're paying for conversions. You're paying for everybody who clicks on those ads that you set up. So if you are going to pay for every click of every person that you have being delivered to your website, make sure you send them to the right place. Don't just send them to your home page. If you want them to book a specific product that you're selling, send them to a place where they can do that and book that. They're already halfway sold because they've clicked on that link. You send them to your website homepage, they may take their time going to your website and you lose them along the way. So create a landing page, somewhere that's promotion specific, where you want them to go and then take an action when they land there. So a particular page you create with the conversion buttons on the page. Ideally, that page should only be reachable on those ads, and that's true with social advertising as well. So that you know everybody delivered to this page came from that campaign. But it's about, as you've seen, much more than just search engine optimization. It's about those links and also those links from social media. So I want to run through the social media toolbox now, with just some key tips of the platforms that you're going to be using. Choose the tools that work best for you, the right ones that are going to deliver you the best results, and the right clients. And you have to do that by testing. As Sonal said yesterday, spend a lot of time stalking your clients, seeing what platforms work for them, and make the decisions based on results. So with regard to Facebook, I think it's something that we've seen everybody is here using, both at a personal level and ideally for a business level as well. The Facebook fan page has become an extremely important resource. Of course, you would market to any destination with a population of well over 1 billion people. That's what Facebook is, and that's why a Facebook page is such an important resource for you, an essential business resource, really. There's been a shift in the design of Facebook pages. You would have seen in the last couple of months your Facebook page changed. I think that's now complete. Billy, is that right? Because it kept getting later and later. I was still occasionally coming across the old school pages. Have they all changed now? Anyone here have an old school page like this? They've all changed. Fantastic. So they now look like that. One of the most significant changes that they made was making the analytic insight information much more accessible. You see it when you're logged in as an admin up there, your messages, notifications, and also the reach of your content. The apps that used to appear on the page down there have now been shifted onto the left-hand side of the page and stacked on top of each other, making it much more website-like in a way, and giving more room for you to have different apps, almost like a website menu. When you're creating a page, it's very important to have your images aligned properly and use the right image in the right place. We quite often see people who actually use a photograph there as opposed to their logo for their profile picture. They'll sometimes have their logo set as their cover picture. It should be the other way around. So you should ideally have a nice, striking photograph that you want to immediately communicate what it is that's great about your business, a great, appealing, strong visual in your cover picture, and then your logo as your profile picture. Why should you always have your logo as your profile picture? Because every time you post, every time you share some content, it carries your logo with you and it brands that post so that they know this is a message from that company. Like that, for example. Any post made from that company, you're not going to know from that logo. It's going to be a wild dog. It's not going to be the corporate logo of the company. So apps really improve and increase the ability of your page, particularly when it comes to conversion. So having booking buttons present, your TripAdvisor reviews, things like inquiry forms, invite your friend buttons, use those apps, a lot of which are freely available if you search through the App Center, that you can place on your page to make it more interactive, make it more web-like. Choose good, strong images that relate to your logo. Change them regularly when it comes to your cover picture to keep it dynamic. and refreshing. Don't do something like that. I saw this Facebook page recently where they've taken a picture of their sign on the gate rather than using their logo and put a picture of the world's most unappealing road up there. I just look at that and think, I do not want to go there. One of the key things that when we're training people who use Facebook is weaning them away from the obsession with likes. We always see businesses that are always saying, well, we only have a few hundred likes. Our competitor has 10,000. That's what we want. Everything we should do is about building up these likes. That's not your most important metric. Your really important metric is how many people are engaging with you. So what percentage of your total number of fans are regularly engaging with your content? They used to put this on the front of your website. You used to say, this many fans, this many people talking about this. That used to confuse a lot of people. What does that mean they're talking about me? That was your engagement rate. It's now available in your Insights panel, so only you can see it. But that number of people who are engaging with you should be on average about 10% or higher for it to be a healthy level of engagement for your business. So that's the number of people who've liked, commented, or shared with your content in the last week. So always focus on that being at least 10% of your total fans. But having a constantly growing level of engagement is much more important than a total volume of unengaged fans. They're going to work much better for you, deliver you different results, and if you're advertising via Facebook, make it much more cost-effective for you as well. Remember how people mostly use Facebook. I think it's still about, Billy, correct me if I'm wrong, and my figures, but about 4% of the market that actually visit pages. Has that gone up a little since the new redesign? About 4%, I think, of users. Yeah. So for 96% of your users, it's going to be your posts where they engage with you, as opposed to your page. So the average user, as all of us do, wake up, open up Facebook, scroll back to where we last looked at it last night, and then we run through our feed and we look at those. As we look through the newsfeed, we might like or comment on the post, we might open up some photos and look at them, and then back to the newsfeed. Very few people actually go to the page. So your predominant point of engagement is going to be your posts. So getting engagements with those posts are critical. Firstly, for improving your relationship with the fans that you have, but also if they're taking action and engaging with your content, they're getting access to their networks who see that they liked this picture from this page, or they liked this page, they commented on this post as well. And also for getting those suggested pages as well. So you want a good, healthy level of engagement on your posts. So you should always be aiming to improve how many people are liking, commenting, or sharing on the content that you're posting. You do not want to post content that receives a 0 level of engagement. No likes, no comments, and no shares. One of the things, the myths about Facebook, which we often get from people don't realize that they may have so many thousand fans. They believe that every single one of those fans sees everything that they post. That's most definitely not the case. Facebook operates what's called an edge ranking system, which means that you have a relationship ranking with each of those fans, which increases the likelihood as that ranking gets stronger of them seeing your posts. And that's calculated in 4 different ways. Their previous interactions with you, how often they've liked your posts before, or commented on them, or engaged with them. If they're regularly doing that, they'll be shown more of those posts from you. Their interactions with that type of post. People who only look at photos or comment on photos or like photos are shown more photos or links or types of content. The reactions from the rest of the audience who've responded to that content. How many other likes does it have? As it becomes more popular and liked, it's going to become more visible to more people. And also, what can work against you is it has negative feedback, meaning people have put, I don't want to see this picture, I don't want to see pictures like this, or unliked your page. That can actually get you a negative edge ranking. If people are responding negatively to your content. There's something particular to Africa that I'm going to come on to shortly where we found where a lot of people accidentally get negative edge ranking by their posts. So in terms of improving engagement, don't just focus on likes. Likes are good. But comments are actually even better in terms of engagement because every time someone comments, you get an opportunity to answer them. They'll probably respond to you. Other people may join that conversation. Comments build up a much higher level of engagement and edge rank improvement. Shares are obviously the best because someone else is taking your content and sharing it out to their network and their connections. So when it comes to posting, 5 basic golden rules for good posts. Keep it short and to the point. Don't write so much text that you have to click that link to open up and read the rest of the post. Very few people do that. So keep it at 250 characters or less. Show your knowledge of the product. Back to our moose again. You're an expert. You know your product. Talk about it and show your expertise. Aim to engage with them constantly. Write and create posts that people are going to respond to, particularly things that will encourage or prompt people to comment on posts. Keep your human face. Be personable and personable. Don't talk about Acme Safaris are doing this. Say, we are doing this. We have this special offer. Make it a human post. Keep it current and up to date with what's happening now in the market or in your destination. Keep it visual. Photos and video receive a much higher level of engagement than text alone. Text posts with no photos in them get very little engagement. They're up to 180 times more likely to get engagement with photos, video, or a photo album. So no matter what the message is, include a photograph with it. Even if it's had a great wild dog sighting and you didn't get photos of that sighting or that interaction, put another wild dog photo on there when you talk about the experience. Some visual cue is going to get you much more engagement. So you want to aim to get what we call the trifecta, or the big three of engagement. Likes, comments, and shares. When you see all three of those coming in, that's where you're building up good, positive edge rank. How often should you post? How many times a week should I be posting? A lot of people really overdo it. And it's a common cause of people unliking pages, is excessive posting. Particularly when someone's just liked you and they don't really have an edge ranking relationship. If they're being bombarded with your posts, they're very unlikely to unlike you. So we always tell people a maximum of 2 or 3 times a week, maybe up to 4 times a week, is about all people expect to hear from a company. If you do have something amazing happen, some amazing expect to hear from you. Think about when, think about who you're targeting. When are they going to be awake? When are they going to be in a good mood? Now, it's not as real time as Twitter, but time still does come into it. So think about time zones and lifestyles and find an optimum time. That's quite a nice graph talking about people's positive mood swings during the week. And the times when people are mostly on Facebook between 12 and 5 p.m. and when people are least on Facebook between 10 p.m. and 8 a.m. So think about the time zones you want to target. When will they be online and when are they likely to be in a good mood? You can see the swell of their mood over the week there, and post accordingly. Best way to get engagement, don't lecture people, have a conversation with them. Write posts that they're likely to respond to. Make it timely, make it about current events. That's a post on Valentine's Day. Easy. Read it. Post something romantic on Valentine's Day. Christmas, any holiday or festival period. Take advantage of that and post timely content. This was Kenya's 50th anniversary we had of independence. The Kenyan crest that we have on our flag are 2 lions, both flanking Mount Kenya. So these guys had a camp up in the Mount Kenya area, went out and found 2 lions, framed them with Mount Kenya behind them, and posted that on Independence Day. And it immediately got them a huge result. Most shares went up into the hundreds, because everybody was then sharing that as their Independence Day picture. This is another picture taken in Kenya recently when we had some of our security problems, and there were lots of stories about airport security. Someone actually turned it on their head and said, well, we don't have any security problems at our airstrip, at our camp, because we have this guy who manages our security. And because it was something people were really talking about at the time, they got them 285 shares and a bunch of comments off that one photograph alone. So create interest on the obvious and usual as well. Yes, you're in a great wildlife location, but don't only publish those wildlife pictures. Find interesting things that people find interesting and engage with. This is actually a gorilla lodge in Rwanda. But they don't only post gorilla photos. This is a local chili sauce they have produced from local farmers. So they've talked about the chili sauce they use in the kitchen. They've used that to then go on and talk about their relationship with the farmers and post recipes as well. People love recipes. Post recipes from your kitchen. People are going to share those with their friends. They're going to like them so they can go back to them later and access the recipes that they've seen. Talk about where you source things in the camp. There's someone talking about the guy who makes their curtains for the rooms. They've gone and posted a photo of him, talked about his story. Lots of different things. So it's not just always your product. Interesting, engaging things that are going to start conversations. Play games with them to get them to engage with you. This is the Shop Left campaign from South Africa. They've photoshopped out a building in Cape Town. Tell us what's missing from this picture. Of course, people will now start guessing and naming which building is missing. This app, asking people questions about wildlife with multiple choice answers. So you just get lots of people commenting with their answers, and you can then talk to them. We've seen game lodges do this with dung and footprints. Whose poo is this? And get people to guess what it is. Just from a picture of a poo, often getting 50 and 60 comments on that piece of shit. Remember, when you do engage with people, to use their names. Use their names in your replies to them so that they're notified that you've responded to them. They're much more likely to continue that conversation with you if they're informed or told that they've been mentioned in a comment, so they can go back and continue that conversation with you. Just ask them questions. Say, we're thinking of changing our menu. What would you like to see on our menu? People will answer that. Don't make it so extreme like the Lay's example, where they're going to go into all sorts of things, but give them options that you have. Crowdsource opinion. This is somebody saying, we're changing our table settings. Which one do you think is better, A or B? Now that's good information for you to know what people prefer, but it's also going to get you a lot of engagement from people putting in A, B, and then you just ask them, well, why? Why did you choose A? What's better? Why is A better than B? You can get a whole conversation going off a post like this. Facebook Offers is a great tool. We use it a lot for selling tickets to events like this. Some of you may be here on a Facebook offer. But I'm seeing it a lot in the travel space as well. I don't know if anyone's ever used Facebook Offers, but it enables you to create a simple discounted offer, something like a stay for 3 nights, pay for 2 deal, or a percentage discount off a booking, and then you just post this offer. You pay for it. It varies depending on how many people you want to target. On an average, I think $20 would be the average, 20 to 50 possibly. And then anybody who claims that offer, it posts on their page that they have claimed that offer. Their friends and connections can see this, and then they can click to get that offer as well and claim as well. So it creates some virality in the marketing of that offer among their networks. Really nice little tool. You can localize posts on Facebook if you're selling to specific audiences. If you've got domestic packages versus international packages, you don't want one audience to see the other. You can localize your posts and speak only to people in particular markets. One of my pet hates on Facebook. A lot of people think, I want good engagement, let me start the process myself, and I like everything that I post myself. It's so tacky and awful. Whenever I see this person likes their own photo, it really is like high-fiving yourself in public. So photos are extremely important. One rule that some people don't know is that there is a rule on Facebook. This seems to work off and on in terms of their systems, but basically it is 25%, correct me again, Billy, if I'm wrong, of your image can be text and nothing beyond that, right? 20, okay. So only 20% of any photo or image that you post can be made up of text. So don't do something like this and create a photograph that is mostly text. That's seen as a free advertisement, and the algorithm will delete the post. They'll delete or deny it, right? That's right. Yeah. So you cannot do a promotion like this. You have to use a strong image and then use the promoting the post tool to actually promote that post. You can't put text in and create your own ads. There's nothing wrong, however, with doing these sorts of partnerships. It works very effectively, where you share content with business partners or people who have complementary businesses to you. This is somebody who's done a deal with an adventure travel company. So they're posted saying, if you're coming to stay with us, this is a great shop to buy your luggage and gear. And then the shop has posted things saying, if you're coming to us to buy luggage and travel gear, this is a great place to go and wear it. So it's reciprocal marketing via each other's pages and posts. Another thing that I find quite annoying on Facebook is the posting of links. You should do it, particularly back to your own website and your own content, but a lot of people do it very badly. They'll copy a URL and they'll paste it into their status bar and create a massive, ugly post like this. You've probably seen it with a massive website URL in it. You don't need to do that. As soon as you post a website address into a Facebook status, it creates a small abstract version of that page, and you can delete that URL. So you create a nice link like that back to the website, and it will create a nice with a single image linking back to the site. But check that, because that comes back to the CMS of the individual website, the abstracting tools they use to enable that page to be converted when it's posted socially. If they haven't done that, you can get links like this. So you post something but it says no content found. Or something here where they've actually put their metadata for different spelling versions of their names into their post. Or this when there's nothing, just a bunch of HTML code. So it's very important with your website CMS as well that you have your pages properly abstracted, meaning they can be easily shared via these social platforms. So I've mentioned before the negative engagement risk. What happens when a lot of people don't like your content and say, I don't want to see things like this, or they unlike your page? We've seen a lot of this in Africa when we sit down, particularly with safari camps and lodges, and look at their their insights, we suddenly see these big spikes in negative engagement, people unliking the page or requesting not to see information again. And we've looked at it, we've realized there's a common thing that causes this. And it's all about what people find most offensive on Facebook. You know what that is? What offends people more than anything else on Facebook? It's not porn. They don't allow that. Does anyone know what the most offensive thing on Facebook is? For me, personally, it's Candy Crush. But outside of that, what are people most offended by? Anyone guess? Religion, good. Yeah, I'd also go with that one. But no, it's something else. Well done. It's animal abuse. It's people who want to shock people, into supporting a cause or something like that, so they post photos of fur farms or some level of animal cruelty. It upsets people. A lot of people do not, even though they might support animal rights and causes, do not want these sort of images put in front of their face when they wake up in the morning and open Facebook. So it causes a negative response. When we've looked at the negative engagement on those Facebook pages with companies here in Africa, without fail, it leads us back to photos like this. Now you see, to a Safari Lodge owner, this is a great photo. They think people want to see kills. And they may do when on Safari, but they might not want to see it when they're sitting down at breakfast in the morning and they open up their Facebook page. So it's a very fine line. So we always tell people, are you here? Are these people here? No, sorry. I thought maybe it was your photo.
No, I've done something quite similar.
And it caused a negative response. Yeah. So the rule we always tell people when we train people is, when it bleeds, stop. Okay, there's nothing wrong with the line pulling down a buck or anything, but if there's blood, don't post it. Don't go too far, because they can be awful photos. Wild dogs. Amazing animals, but we all know how they kill. It's not a very photogenic thing that people want to see on a Facebook page. I apologize for the next picture, but this is one of the leading causes too that we've seen people negative reacting and unliking pages. Something that people in Safari camps often think are great, which is snakes. There are people out there that can't look at photos of snakes. There's one there now who's just put a scarf over her face. There are people that cannot look at photographs of snakes and spiders. Sorry, I'll take it away now. You can look now, it's gone. Kidding. You might like snakes, you might think snakes are cool, and snakes are very cool. I have a good friend who does snake-specific safaris, but a lot of people have a negative response to them. So tone down on the snake pictures, unless you're selling only snake pictures. The other vital thing, as I mentioned in my introduction yesterday, is your people's ability to check into your property and the use of Facebook places. Who here has a Facebook place set up? People can check into your property. Who here doesn't? Yeah, it's still quite common because it can be a bit of a process to achieve. But it is extremely important, particularly for location-based services and people being able to tag their photos and show that they're with you. You don't want to just go with the nearest physical location or town that's there. You want a specific check-in that's your own named place. This lodge in Kuwait, obviously everybody that checks in there and sees that on reception is going to want to go there. So this means you need to create a Facebook place. A Facebook place is a separate entity to a Facebook fan page. You have to create it yourself by using the check-in option on a smartphone. You'll often find, if you don't have one, that other people have created it for you. Have anybody had this happen to them? Because some clients have come, they want to check in, they haven't found an official one, so they've created one themselves. So there can often be multiple versions of Facebook places. You can fix that. So you either have to claim one of those places, the one that has the most check-ins, or create a new one yourself. So once you open up that place page and click on it, there's an option saying you're the owner of this business. So you select that option, Facebook will contact you, you prove you're the official owner of the place, an email address is often good enough to do that, sometimes you have to provide them with more information. They will then make you the official owner of that place. You can then merge that with your fan page. And that means that your check-ins and your reviews, your comments and tag photos will now be visible on your fan page. So that is vital that you do. It's a bit of a process, it can take a couple of weeks to achieve, but it's definitely worth doing.
Damien, you say that can only be done from a smartphone.
No, well, it's easiest done by a smartphone, but you can do it. You can do it via, if you can find the check-in online and do it to claim it yourself as well. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but your check-in needs to be done. Yeah. So because of this, a lot of people are now incentivizing people to check in. Once it's done and your pages are merged, you want to incentivize people to check in on arrival. So you're seeing people trying to do this by giving people special offers, discounts, free t-shirts, free drinks when people check in. But the one thing you should encourage is people to do it. In your signing, in your brandage, tell your friends you're here. Put it on your tables like this, put it in your rooms, encourage people to check in. It's really going to help the number of volumes of check-ins you have and the ease of people finding that place to encourage your clients to check in. A very clever way to do it is via Wi-Fi access. Put a splash page and what's called a light gate on your Wi-Fi network, so that in order for people to access your free Wi-Fi network, they first have to check in and wipe your page. Hashtags, I think have been discussed in some of the sessions, but if anyone's familiar with what a hashtag is, and I'm sure you all are, but they are now operative on Facebook as well, and are used as a categorization tool. We always say that in your Facebook post, include your country, topic, and content as a hashtag. So in that case, travel, Zanzibar, and hotels is a good rule for how many hashtags you want to include. Don't overdo it though. Some people are really getting carried away with hashtags. We sometimes see this kind of thing. People trying to use as many as they can in the hope of being found. It just makes it ridiculous. Makes it ridiculous when people actually have to look at your posts. So when it comes to paying for Facebook advertising, it's becoming very common. It's very cost effective. We see a lot of people in the sector here in Africa getting very good results from working for Facebook ads, both in terms of promoting and sponsoring individual posts and also paying for text ads as well. I'm not going to go into the in-depth details of how you do that. There are simple guides on Facebook that will show you how to do it. But it can be very, very effective, particularly because it targets so well. My favorite example of how effective Facebook ads can be is something that happened to me some time back. I love this as an example of how immediate Facebook ads can be in terms of their delivery of advertising. I was at home in Watamu, the town where I live, and I was having a breakfast meeting with someone, and she ordered a pizza for breakfast, which seemed a bit odd to me, to have a pizza for breakfast. So I took a photo of it and wrote "pizza for breakfast, go figure," and tagged that I was with her. Immediately, if you look at the ads on the other side of the page, they changed and reflected. I was in Watamu. They gave me an ad for the Watamu page, which is a local place page with restaurants, bars, and listing. They put Tech Talk Africa up because both she and I work in the tech sector. But then because I said pizza and breakfast in the one sentence, an ad came up for weight loss and fitness CBD. So they can be extremely well targeted. You think about that with someone talking about, I'm thinking of traveling, I'm really into this Africa series, I'm watching television, I'm interested in wildlife. Those words they're using, things they're talking about. When it comes to delivery of ads and suggested content, it can be very, very effective. And it's increasingly easy to track as well. There's really good conversion tracking tools out there now on Facebook ads, including these conversion pixels, which you can place onto your booking buttons. And they really improve the quality of the insights and results you get for actually tracking conversions through from engagement to actual bookings and sales, because it will report back how many people actually took an action on your booking button or check out to it. Make sure you always look at your insights. Both in terms of the individual posts, when you've logged into your admin, you can see how many people actually saw this post, what the total reach of it was, with the boost option there. But also open up that insight section that's at the top of your Facebook page. It's a fantastic resource for showing you how every one of your posts is performing and what the level of engagement is on each of your posts. You can track them over time. You can look at the total research of your posts. You can see the difference between likes, comments, and shares and what's getting the best results in each area, the total reach of how many people are being exposed to your content, how many people are being referred to your Facebook page and from where, and then that great people section, which shows you the division of men versus women that are visiting your page and what cities and countries they're predominantly coming from. Surprising to me always how many people never look in the insights panel, but all this great information is there, and you should be using this to stalk and track your customers and make sure you're reaching the right people. A couple of points on Twitter. I know we're running quite time. I'm going to speed up a little bit on this. Twitter is something it seems that almost everybody is using. That was refreshing to see during Sonal's section yesterday. Most people are pretty okay with using it, so I'm not going to go through the basics. But I think it's really, with Twitter, for me, it's about perception of what it does well. I always think Twitter is very unlikely to win you a first-time customer. No one's going to book a trip off the back of 140 characters that they've seen. But it's much more effective as a media channel. It's great for keeping past customers loyal. It's great as a press release tool, almost like a media or wire service. Very, very strong for B2B networking, but also specifically for the media. There's someone we know who has a tiny lodge in Tanzania on an island, Mafia Island off the coast. has no marketing budget, predominantly uses Twitter and nothing else. But within the course of a year, she had the New York Times Travel Supplement, Red Magazine, and Vogue all come to her, all of them from contacts on Twitter. Because journalists use Twitter as a lead generator. They look for stories, they use it like a wire service, and they're always looking for new stories and things to pick up on. And the same goes for bloggers and other content creators. So it's great for reaching those people. It's also obviously great for sharing links back to your website and SEO value. Remember too that days are themed now on Twitter. This is done by users, so it often changes, but each day on Twitter has its own theme. And Travel Tuesday is when a lot of travel discussions and topics are happening on Twitter. So you should always tweet on Travel Tuesday, many times as possible. So I'll talk about not tweeting too much. I mean, I think you can over-tweet, not as much as you can on Facebook, but you should definitely, a lot of Twitter activity happening in the travel space every Tuesday. Twitter will always give you more followers in a quicker period of time than Facebook can because it's so easy to follow someone with a single click and they're constantly referring and recommending people. So you're going to be dealing with a greater volume of people. People that you should be following, your local regional tourist office, South African Tourism obviously, people in the travel media, complementary tourism products in your region, travel publications and blogs, and the local media. Make sure you post lots of links to photos and video. Keep it visual as with everything else. Links to new content and blog posts, your latest TripAdvisor reviews or positive content written about you, link to that. Commentary of current events that are happening in an appropriate volume of hashtags. Never post about politics, religions, or sex. So many flame wars and fights happen on Twitter. You don't want to end up in a public fight and a very visible fight with people. Don't post negative comments about your competition. They'll do the same back to you. Don't post other people's links or contact without crediting them. Use the retweet button and share their tweets. Don't post excessive volume of hashtags. Or just because someone follows you doesn't mean they want to immediately hear from you personally. So don't immediately follow them back and try and send them direct messages and hard sell them products. Often results in people having their accounts suspended when they do that kind of thing. Twitter is quite strongly policed, and it's quite easy to get your account suspended with that type of behavior. If you've got a lot of followers, you should follow them back. Use a tool like Hootsuite to filter whose tweets that you're seeing, to look at important hashtags that relate to you, and track conversations as well. People who use Hootsuite or TweetDeck, really people ask me which one is best. I think it's much of a muchness in terms of what they offer. They've both got good mobile applications. But they make your Twitter use much simpler and allow you to handle large volumes of followers. And they're both free, for one example. Instagram, Gareth covered in enough detail today, so I'm not going to go too much into detail about Instagram, except one thing Gareth didn't cover, how can businesses effectively use it? He talked about the community, but what can you as a small hotel or business do to actually make Instagram work more effectively to you? This is a really nice example that I like of how a hotel uses Instagram and has made itself the most Instagrammable hotel in the world, they call themselves.
Hotels need to be creative in order to stand apart from the competition. Complete with photo-friendly decor and technology, a new 1888 hotel in Australia advertises that it's the world's most Instagrammable hotel. Fans can enjoy a free night stay if they exceed 10,000 Instagram followers. Plus, a monthly contest for the best photo taken while at the hotel also wins a free night stay. In the boutique rooms, guests can connect their smartphones and review pictures on a 40-inch TV screen before uploading them to Instagram via Wi-Fi. Each room's iPad allows guests to place a room service order or adjust room temperature. Instagram-based features include Insta Walk Maps, leading guests to local Instagrammable backdrops like the Piermont Bridge, a selfie space serving as a photo booth for guests to pose, and digital screens in reception displaying guests' uploaded images. The building, originally a wool store, was restored for $28 million, resulting in a unique blend of historic windows and ironbark beams together with modern, colorful decor and furnishing.
Not sure what I need to know about the windows, but it's really great use of Instagram there. A quick note about syncing accounts. Somebody asked me a question about this in one of the breaks, about syncing up your accounts so that you post across platforms. It can work very effectively. You can sync so that your tweets appear on your Facebook page, vice versa. But just be very careful when you're using that, particularly when it comes to Twitter and the way they cut off the length of posts. Sometimes that can really work against you. This politician in America had a small issue recently when they made a post and shared it on Twitter. And said that South Carolina just made history this year by passing educational reform. We will no longer educate children. Pretty revolutionary approach to education. I'm sure there was more to that sentence. So be aware that it doesn't always translate across the two. or this bizarre, eTurbo News is one of my bugbears in the weird way that they use social media, but this one, firstly a great headline, World Cup, thousands may die, but it's actually drawing a completely different story from their page in this case that they've shared, talking about National Geographic and ITV doing a deal, and even more strangely, a picture of Daenerys from Game of Thrones there, who presumably she was going to kill thousands of people at the World Cup on behalf of National Geographic. A couple of points for good business tools. Don't forget about using online for communications. Skype is such a tremendous communication tool and has made things so cost effective. Using webinars is a great way for addressing groups of agents or businesses online. For sharing presentations, as we will after this event, you can use SlideShare as a platform. But SlideShare is also great for sharing presentations about your business as well. If you have a great little PowerPoint business showing off your property or what you do, it's a great tool for sharing those presentations with agents and operators around the world. Don't forget LinkedIn, something we haven't spent a lot of time in the last few days, but very important. B2B network, very large number of users, and great for groups and discussions and networking with other business providers online. In the Google presentation, they said they didn't talk too much about YouTube. Obviously, it's one of their core search engine products, but I think a YouTube channel is an extremely important resource for tourism business. Somewhere to have all of your videos stored and videos that relate to your product, and it's completely free. YouTube's become a huge supplier of video, extremely international. Number 2 video site in the world is YouTube Mobile, so it's very mobile friendly. It's very socially friendly as well. So make sure if you're creating videos for your business that they're good, that they're short, that they fit within the average user's attention span, which I'll show you just now. That you edit it down, put in nice transition effects, add music. They've gotten better about the copyright issue now and have a repository of copyright-free music that you can access via YouTube. But keep it under 3 minutes, because that's a graph of people's attention span when watching videos on YouTube. And really, after about 2 minutes, you start to lose people, so keep them short and sweet. Treat it the way you would anywhere else with SEO in terms of the tags and descriptions you put in on your videos. Make sure you've got a good thumbnail that really visibly represents the video. I'm going to give you this presentation, so I don't need to go through this in too much detail. There's lots of notes here for you to go through. But then set up a channel, which enables you to have a good central featured video that highlights your product or property, and then playlists of videos. To have good short videos about all your itineraries, all the areas you visit, all your accommodation types and attractions around the hotel. And that single channel can be somewhere where you send potential clients and potential business partners. They also then give you really good analytics, and you can see, as with Facebook and other platforms, where people are coming from, what your most popular videos are, what sort of people are viewing your videos. Again, great information for stalking and learning about your clients. The Vine is a cute little app some of you may have used for posting video to Twitter. It's a simple phone app that enables you to take a looped video and post it as a tweet. Pinterest, we didn't really cover in too much detail. Are there big Pinterest fans here? Yeah, Pinterest is just actually quickly, before I wrap up, I'm going to do as quick as possible. One thing that's important, put up your hand again if you're a big Pinterest fan or user. Yep, that just about bears it out. Because there's something unique about Pinterest, which only became known a couple of months ago when they released some research. It hasn't been in market that long. So they've been looking at the average Pinterest user, and there's something unique about Pinterest to all of the other social platforms. It's 94% female, which is about the range of hands that went up there. It's massively popular with women, for some reason not with males. Part of that's because it's penetrated the fashion space so well, I think. But there's no reason why it can't work well for travel, and I think it's something that's going to evolve and grow and will become important for travel. So in terms of getting and using UGC, you have to be realistic in terms of what people are going to produce at your property. People are going to talk a lot about these hotels that are built from ice or on coral reefs. They're not going to talk so much about your generic hotel room, unless you give them something to talk about. So always aim to give people something to talk about and post social when they're with you. This was a camp I was in recently, and every game drive, they gave people different biscuits, and they represented each of the big 5 in the biscuit you got every day. And we saw people sitting in that camp every day taking photos of the biscuits. The smallest thing will give people something that they want to share and some experience. So encourage people to share content with you, have competitions, enable people to show their videos at Safari Lodges, and if you see a great one, ask for access so you can share some of that, so that you get as much of that content as well. But reward them for sharing their photos with you. Post them, make it your cover photo, run a photo competition every 6 months, encourage people to share that content with you. Get your staff producing content. If you've got guides out in the field, give them GoPro simple cameras so they can constantly be producing content in the field as well. And produce content for clients. Take photos for them if they want you to, particularly couples and people with kids. And then you can send them to them later and request a social contact from that or a review. With regard to mobile, I think we've covered that in enough detail, but the most important thing is that your website works on a mobile platform with a good responsive design, which means it can be visible on all of the big three screens of smartphone, desktop, and tablet. Also make sure you're present on Google Maps, all of the listings online as well, that people are using for mobile platforms to actually locate businesses as well and provide that ability to contact you and find you via your mobile sites. Mobile is also great for management. There are great tools out there. The Facebook Pages Manager app, which enables you to manage multiple Facebook pages and do all those admin tools and see your insights via your mobile phone. Simple free app that Facebook provides. Don't forget WhatsApp, which is hugely popular, but can be a great management tool. We've run one around this event where everybody managing this event was in one group and could communicate to each other as a group. It's great if you're working with a lot of people on a project for coordinating events, but some people also use it for live chat with clients as well, so they can get their number and communicate with them on WhatsApp and get feedback and contact with companies. So finally, how do you manage all this in terms of a human resource level? Make sure that you've got the right resources in place, people who get it, people who understand it, and people have the time and budget to do so. Have a social media policy about who can and can't say what. If you need to grow your ability to manage social media, bring in some people to do it specifically. Bring in young people, interns, on a part-time basis initially, to help you with your social media work and content production. If they're good at what they do, they will build up the point where it becomes a full-time position for them as well. There are great social media management tools out there, social media calendars, where you put in all the platforms that you're on, and you can set day by day when you should be posting on which platform, so they will remind you. Today's the day where you should do this many tweets, a Facebook post, share this type of content, post a video to YouTube, and manage your social media profile. There's lots of these freely available online, good social media marketing calendars. To start to shift into this area, we always recommend for companies that haven't invested much into social and online presence to begin making allocated shifts. Don't expect everything to work for you tomorrow, but do it in a progressive way. Start to shift your business online. The amount of rooms that you're allocating to online bookings and a shift of your marketing time and budget starting with 25% of what you used to spend in offline, shift it online. Test for results and make decisions based on those results that you see. And as you grow, start to appoint potentially someone who's purely responsible for managing the online and social media profile. But do it strategically, gradually, and based on actual results. So the final 10 steps I'd like you to take away from this. Do it strategically, strategize for change, develop a proper e-marketing strategy and reallocate those budgets, and set realistic time goals. It's not going to work for you tomorrow. It needs time, it needs work to build up those relationships, that engagement, and start to see results. Build up the resources you need. Read, learn, join communities. Don't be scared off by geeks and gurus who tell you you can't do it yourself and you need to pay someone else to do it for you. Bring in interns, students, people to work with you to start to develop your internal resources. You may have to redevelop and improve your website, but do that strategically. Focus on room for growth and make it socially integrated. Make social a core part of everything you do, part of your standard operating procedure. Always update, build up those relationships and links. Focus on your content, your own and others, in terms of both quantity and quality. Publish, gather, and share that content. Make engagement your focus. Talk to your users always. Interact, ask for their opinions, and talk and discuss things with them. Don't deny, challenge, or fight them in public ever. Ask them to help you collaborate to make your business even better. Make sure it's fun. No one's doing this. Very few people are using social media at a consumer level because they consider it work or a hard task. They're doing this for fun. So be yourself, be personal and personable in how you communicate with people, and encourage an atmosphere of sharing. But while you're having all that fun, don't forget to make some money. A lot of people have great social media activity, lots of fans, lots of engagement, but they never actually make any business out of this. So make sure that you focus on conversion and measure and manage that conversion so that you can see you're getting serious return on investment for the time and money that you're spending. Keep changing, focus on the new technologies as they come, new devices people are using, new devices that help you produce and share content. Be visual and use more multimedia, that's where the market's headed, and react and respond to those trends, feedback, and data that you receive via your insights and analytics from various platforms. And finally, keep an open mind. The future is not going to be what you think it's going to be, but I think it's going to be what anybody It's a dynamic and constantly changing space. It's hard to predict where things are headed. You need to be very flexible and open to change as the game constantly changes in this space. Because year on year, when we come back to this and other events, we find that things have changed radically, and we're talking about things that didn't even exist the year before. So it's a very, very changing space. So stay social and keep talking. Talking to each other as a business, talking to your destination via South African tourism, talking to us at the Tourism Frontiers about what you want to see in this event year on year. So keep the communication chain going. If you are interested in specific training, this is something, as I said, that we do. I'm constantly holding seminars and workshops and direct training with people in the industry. We do what we call our seminars in the wild. We've done this right across Africa with over 40 companies now via associations, where we actually visit properties and products, look at their guest experience, do some experience design, work with them to improve how people can access and share those experiences, looking at their clients, who they're trying to target, help them develop a strategy and the resources to do this. If you're interested in doing that, please feel free to drop me a line. Happy to talk to you. We're really seeing people get great results from this from right across Africa as well. The more training, more education you get, the better equipped you're going to be able to do all of this yourself. So on that note, I'd like to wrap up the event. I know it's been a very long 2 days, hopefully a very informative and entertaining 2 days.